thanks everybody for coming. I was just going to, since there's no residents that showed up tonight, I was going to introduce who's here to speak and answer questions, and basically turn over to council and answer any questions you might have. On GoToMeeting over there, we have Bruce Brandstetter, Roger Keller, and Ben is on the road. Hi, Roger. Ben is on the road, but he's listening in too. Thanks for coming. They've been city engineers for a long time.
That's correct.
Yes, and did a lot of the work that we've done on the EPA so far. Laura McGinnis is here from Arcadis, and she has been. Will you leave that door open, please? Go ahead and leave it open. Thanks.
We're just here.
Thank you. Laura McGinnis is here from Arcadis, and who worked with the city, with the EPA on the first consent decree, and now we're negotiating the second one right now, which we have one more year to go on that, but we're with the EPA right now. Jeff Dunn is our street supervisor, knows the stuff inside and out. For representing McKeever and Associates, we got Isaac King, Lynn McKeever, Dylan Wyatt. And you guys all know those guys. So, there's no residents here to answer any questions.
In
the subdivision.
Oh, in the tenth. Oh, this all.
But you're a resident, so if anybody has questions, and they can certainly go over what we've worked on and what our money's been going to. So, it's kind of a general meeting. So, you have questions?
I do, if you don't have.
Nope. Go ahead.
All right, let me get it here. A couple things. After I watched your meeting the other day, you had it there on the screen and all that about the rates and this and that. Is this the right meeting for that?
No, that's a different meeting.
Oh, okay. This is just about.
This is about This is about what we've done so far with stormwater, our separation project, and the issues we have. We've had twice this year with torrential rainstorms, Mother's Day, and then July.
This has nothing to do with
rate increases and stuff in EPA. No.
Sending the water to the Scioto and the.
Well, they could come up. Those are some of the things we've talked about as our next plan with in negotiation with the EPA.
Well, that's what I was.
Well, you certainly can talk about
my
that.
My question was,
yeah.
I had been on council
yeah.
since the beginning of all that.
Beginning of time.
Yeah, no, not quite that long, but since, we signed the decree and all that, and I never heard of, is this something new that we're sending it a different way?
Well, that's, yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to the experts. Lynn, can I turn it over to Lynn?
Yes. The original watershed divided at the rail car facilities, and the area south of that all drained south to the Scioto River. The area north of that drained to the Sandusky. To pull the water out of the Sandusky River and the trunk sewer running underneath City Hall, we were attempting, or the thought process was to redirect the water back to the south where it once went. And that's why we're talking about running water to the south into the Little Scioto River at this time, because it's in that original watershed to run that way. If you remember on Highland Avenue, the sewer actually that goes up and then back down, the sewer's running downhill, but the ground has a hump in it there at the north of the houses there on the southern portion of Highland. And that's the original watershed divide running from there over to the county engineer's office, and then through the middle of the horse race track. That's the dividing line, right, and goes to Colonel Crawford School and to the Galleon Airport. And that water south goes, the south of that imaginary line there goes south, and the water north. And we were just attempting to redirect that water back to the south where it once came. And then that would create available additional capacity in the Buffalo sewer for our existing water that's got to go that way.
So the one we just did on down Southern, we're gonna change that.
No, that stays the same.
Okay.
We need the sanitary to get to the wastewater plant.
Right.
But what we were trying to do is remove some of the storm sewer pressure on the Buffalo. So if we can take that much storm water, 60, 80 acres south, that relieves and makes available additional capacity on the Buffalo. That was
Yeah,
the
I mean,
thought
that makes
process.
sense. All right, well, that was something new I had never heard of, so.
Do you have anything more, or?
I'll just say, from phase one, that had not even been discussed.
Right.
Phase one
right.
was, let's do a lot of separation. And then this idea came up, let's grab that stormwater that's already been separated and just get it out of the system. And it does free up capacity. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Just a question for you, Lynn. With
Turn-
the water that,
Turn your mic on.
oh,
Sorry.
with the water that it theoretically being diverted north, correct? That we are gonna
It's-
now
It's diverted
redirect
north
back.
today.
Right,
Yes.
that we are gonna now redirect back south.
Yes.
Does that not further down the Scioto provide more problems for them, like in LaRue that already has flooding problems?
Not LaRue. LaRue wouldn't even, their water is way upstream, and on the main Scioto, this is the little Scioto, which ties into the Scioto at Elgin, closer to Elgin School
Okay.
in that area.
Okay,
So it would never back up into LaRue.
okay,
But also, we'll be looking at the capacity underneath Swan Rubber. And we also have the detention basin that was larger than it really needed to be because they needed the dirt for Beale Avenue. And we'll look at that capacity there also.
okay.
And it is anticipated to be channeled through that detention basin.
Is that gonna cause a problem with the Canadian agreement, since they're
No, this
theoretically
actually
relying
would-
on that water?
This would actually make it better because the Canadian, it was usually a net loss of the watershed. We're only restoring the watershed to what God made it.
Okay,
And we're not diverting water away like Akron, Canton has those issues and stuff over there.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
So you're gonna pick up Russell Avenue and all that, that used to always be a flooding problem?
Russell Avenue will be at the upper reaches of the Buffalo sewers and remain that way because there's a big structure right there. And that will
the
stay
end
the
of the street.
same, but they'll have 60 acres less of water competing for that capacity. So you could say they get a secondary benefit out of that.
Okay.
Does anyone know how much of the storm separation we have done at this point? Ballpark figure.
What percent of this city? I don't have an exact number.
I've always asked that question,
I know.
I've never gotten it.
I may have it somewhere, I don't have it right now.
I was told that was like around 35-40%.
You could call up, you had the map up there, you could put the storm sewer
Yeah.
map on the screen and it would show you by color coding what's been done,
Michigan General.
basically south of Southern Avenue, Huggins and all that.
Yeah.
Then there's some of the northeast.
Downtown area,
Right.
and we did Spring Street, South Spring Street.
So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question already, Lynn, but I'm gonna ask you. I live on Oakwood Avenue, last stretch between Spring Street and Taylor before you get to the cemetery. Grove Street dead ends into my driveway. The catch basin's right out in front of my house, right there at the end of my driveway. When we got this last big rain, I've lived in my house for 13 years now, and I've never gotten water in it. I got 6 inches Friday night and another 4 inches Saturday morning. When I checked the drain, my drain that runs out to the catch basin is where the water was backing up from. Is that just because our systems were overloaded at that time and it basically just had nowhere else to go, so it backed up through my line?
Okay, I'm trying to pinpoint, you're talking at Oakwood?
Yes. Basically, the
West Oakwood at.
yeah, West Oakwood at Grove, right there at that intersection. There's a catch basin on the north side of the street.
I don't know the condition of that. I
We
would
can pull it up
defer
on
to-
here and see.
We'll just,
You're saying your downspouts tie into what?
No, not my downspouts. I have 3 drains in my basement. The one drain in the front part of my basement runs to, leads
to the
from-
sanitary.
It goes to the sanitary. That's where the water was backing up through, was through that line. But none of my other drains would drain with that one backing up. So I was just curious,
I
it
would
was
say-
during that time when we got a tremendous
I
amount
would
of
say
water.
the system is full at that time.
I figured that was the case, so.
you get a volume, like you can have 2 inches of rain over 2 days,
no problem.
and you can get a ½ inch of rain in 10 minutes.
Right.
And you'll get water with the ½ inch, and you won't with the 2 inch.
So,
Just on how it comes and that time to
I was just
go
trying,
away.
I thought that was the idea, I just wanted to kind of confirm. So.
Yeah. Because we had looked at that area, that little tributary comes down through that area and then into the cemetery, and it's not been addressed yet.
Okay.
Bruce wants to say something. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Bruce.
Yeah, what's your address?
330 West Oakwood.
Yeah, go to Oakwood, John, pull that up.
Yeah, you don't have to, I just thought someone might have it on top of their head. How much-
The yellow that you're seeing up there is, well, that's
I would say
sanitary. That's-
40-some%.
Green is storm
No
sewer
experts are-
separation.
Yeah,
I would say it's in 40-some%.
it could just be deceiving because the downtown core is going to be more densely packed too.
Yeah.
Left hand, yeah, go over to the left. No, just
Turn the other
enlarge
colors
it right
off.
there. Just keep enlarging it.
Yeah, that's,
You just keep going, enlarging it like that, and you should be, start seeing street
because I've been
names.
watching the Sandusky River with the various storms and
I'll
the
find it.
Mansfield Street
There's
Bridge.
center.
Now that we got that opened up.
So when's
There's you,
the next
right there.
schedule for to clean that again? I mean,
Yep, you're right
I
there,
don't
John.
have it
Just to the right of your arrow.
I don't know, Bruce.
Go to the right of your hand.
Couple months I've been out of it,
This one?
Next one over to the right.
so.
3:30?
Yes, right there.
I just been on council long
Is
enough.
that you mowing the
Jeff
lawn?
Campbell had done.
I don't mow my own grass, so.
You notice that?
We want to do the rest of the river through
Your
town,
green dot is on my catch basin.
but we want to get it.
Basically, that area is separated.
Bridge
Is it?
at Kerstetter
Okay.
and come up through so that
So I
that
would say
can
the system had to be
flush
full.
down.
Right,
'Cause
which
the
is
bridge
what we were
work-
talking about that
Yep.
day. So I just wanted to confirm that
Yep.
that's what it is.
Because it came up in
Thank you.
Lions Field, but it didn't go over the road the last time, if you noted.
Okay, John, if you take it over
Main
to,
Street and.
take it over to
Sandusky
where it
didn't
goes
flood.
into, I think it goes
Which
back to
made
a
me feel
combination
pretty
line
happy.
though.
Back here.
Yeah, go West Oakwood to where it ties in.
Makes me happy too, because I live there.
God made my wife take me out and drive me around so I could see.
Down around Southern.
Just follow West Oakwood. If you notice, it goes back to a combination line.
Which is right there where Lynn said it was, right there in the cemetery.
Yeah, it's the,
Well,
that part's not
you know where that
separated.
one is.
So basically, it's separated until it gets there, then it goes back to a combination.
Okay. Which is, here again, it could have been backed up a little bit at the combination, which is why then it came back to me where I'm at, which makes sense. I mean, way more rain than we were normally supposed to get in a period of time, so.
Yes.
It was the second wettest July.
Not in that picture, they had.
Yeah.
So, I'm down where it's separated, but then it goes into a tributary, like you're saying, it's a cemetery, which is why it then backed up.
That's what
Yeah.
we talked with Arcadis and Jeff and here and the mayor, to go back to some of these areas that are 90%, 80% net and finish them. And at least put those to bed.
Right, absolutely.
What is it? Said love it or something.
Hey, John, run it back to
This is
the
amazing
east.
how much you know about where this water is.
I had nothing better to do.
Where you gonna go?
Go back to
But the
east,
70s,
Kaler
even in
Avenue.
the 70s.
Right.
In the 70s, I started.
That gives you
Timken,
more, it
like
ties
80,
in to the south.
84 to
That's
87.
Kaler, so,
It was
see, there's no sanitary in that area.
And
So
all I
this line
had
actually goes to the
basically
south, I
the whole
believe. You
town
go back to
in bad shape.
his house.
So So that was when we cleaned the interceptor sewer.
And the system
and
goes
they
to the
cleaned
south
whole
there.
town one
Well, the
time,
sanitaries,
and
the
it
flow
cut
arrows are
our
showing north.
Well, they're not correct.
Okay.
Ever since they updated, they have not been correct.
Okay.
So you can see the trunk line, the purple
Yep.
down below,
Yep, sorry.
that's where it goes to. So it goes the same line, just not over there.
Yep.
North on Sandusky Street.
So if he is hitting that trunk line, that's gonna back up.
Yes.
Quick.
To where?
Yeah, it's gonna back
Right
up
away.
quick, correct.
The storm sewer on North Sandusky that empties at the bridge
Yeah.
on Sandusky Street. How far north?
Holiday Inn,
Oh, we run it all the way.
yes.
So is there a reason that we can't connect into that from the east? When we had those people come and complain about the water in their basements on, what, Emerson and what was the other?
Did she say Dudley?
Dudley.
Was it Dudley?
Yes.
Yes.
Part of what we're wanting to do, even if we do the western portion, will, if that is done first, sorry, it'll take 60 acres or so of water out of what goes underneath Randy's Tire and in that area, which is the outlet for the people east on Emerson. So that if you fix that, it's taking the load off of this area and will allow them to get some better drainage on there. Here again, I'll use the word secondary benefit for right now, but they come down and then drain through Mormon Keystone, and it goes underneath that building and then comes out next to behind the old elementary school and Arby's, and then behind the ice plant down to the river. So it's really difficult to redo that whole sewer system right at this time.
So the drainage ditch that's at the end of High Street that drains east, there's an open drainage ditch. There was a Habitat for Humanity
Yes.
house.
Yes.
And then there's that open drainage
Yes.
ditch that runs east, and then it
That was put
meanders
in
down,
after the
it goes
bypass.
down into the river somewhere. I mean,
That was put in after the bypass was built because the whole north end flooded after the bypass was built. And then they put that open ditch to intercept the water coming from the north and draining to the south. Took it east, and it goes through, I'm gonna call it Carpenters, and east side of the
Producers.
animal
yeah, producers. livestock.
stockyards, goes down and underneath the railroad, and then it'll discharge in Carpenter's Bottom in the Sandusky, and then actually comes through town and on the Sandusky River. And that was put in at that time to help alleviate some of the reoccurring flooding that they had. And we still want that. We got a chunk in there at Emerson and all that area coming down. And if we fix the one road we were looking at, can we help the sewer system? And we have had discussions with Jeff about that, trying to figure a way to help out. And because that's a real problem area we got left in town.
Anything else? All right.
So how far out on the wish list can we go?
We're in the business of putting stuff in the ground. You just gotta fund it. But like I said, if we do the northwest that's, I think, still proposed, that if we get that, they're gonna get benefit because their trunk sewer won't have to compete for we're gonna pull 60 acres of stormwater that's competing for that capacity under Mormon Keystone. So now it'll open up as a bigger trunk just for that area to
So
the
when-
east.
When you say northwest, that means like Irving Street then, West
South
Irving?
of,
Irving.
West
south of Irving,
Franklin Court,
Okay,
west of Franklin.
Willard Street.
Yeah, Willard.
Gordon.
Yeah, Holy Trinity,
Garnet Court area.
and Garnet Court is the one I was trying to think of.
So then we'll run it downhill then? Or,
You ran the storm sewer previously up to the north side of the hospital.
Right.
Behind the
west side of the
school.
hospital?
Yeah, northwest corner of the hospital, and it stopped. Well, we want to pick it up there and take it on up and then go around Garner Court and pick that area up. And your new city property, the garage and all that, that's all dumping into Franklin Court, and we'll be able to pick that water up and take it all out. Well, all that frees up the capacity for other uses.
Right.
So I'm back to my secondary benefit, I call it. I always look at what will work to take care of a problem, and then does that help another portion? Because now that storm sewer is for half the area of ground that it used to be. Yeah, I had some friends that had 6 foot in their basement up there in that area. And I was surprised that they hadn't called, but they have now.
Well, most of those homes on Garnet Court, I think, are on
They
slabs.
are on slabs. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, and the road flooded, but it's still, all that storm water gets into the sanitary sewer. So even though they aren't doing it, they're causing flooding at
Right.
a different location.
I just meant they aren't calling and complaining because
Yeah,
they don't have water in their basement, but yeah.
they used to call all the time because it actually
Lay
flooded
in the road.
in the middle where the catch
I used to
basin
play
up
in
to
it
the
when I was a
porches
kid.
of their house. And we went out there and opened it up one day.
Yeah.
Benny Lynn's house, right in front of him. And we had the fire chief lived at the far end, at the cul-de-sac.
Chief of Police too, Mr. Dunzer. He lived on Garnet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it helped a lot because there the catch basin tied right into the sanitary. And there's a manhole just to the north side of the catch basins. There, and used to be Benny Lynn's. I don't know if he's still
I know that
there.
it fell behind Holy Trinity, the water lays there. Because when my son was little, he walked out in it and it was
Yeah,
like,
I would
he was
really
probably
like
5 or
to get
6
that.
and it was up to
Yeah.
here, so.
We've got several places at the 60 acres type, and we've got one to finish up that Jeff's working on northeast too, that we need to get rid of. In behind the Alliance Church and Christian Missionary Alliance Church and the Mutual Insurance.
Ohio.
Yeah. And see, that dumped into a sanitary. So we need to get that out, which will help part of our other problem on Hopley.
And just like for the Timken subdivision, we met with commissioners and to work with the plan to be able to get some of that stormwater out of the system too. Taking it down to the river, and there's been some issues there for years and years here. So we've got some ideas there too. So we're gonna be working pretty closely to see if we can do something a little bit more.
They're supposed to send letters out to all the residents to grant permission for us to inspect the basements, see how many sump pumps are tied into the sanitary sewer. Because that used to be the way the homes were built in the 70s when I was in college. That's the way we tied them all into the sanitary, and it went in. And truthfully, my sister live out in your neck of the woods now, and I went down in her basement, and she's on top of a hill, and she has a footer tile and everything tied into her sump pump, which discharges into the sanitary sewer. And you're getting 20 times more water from every one of them sump pumps that are tied in, and that's why we need to get those out.
If you have a company come in that does it for you,
All you need to do is walk down and take a look.
yeah, no, but I
We
might not
just
want you
figured
in my
one of us
basement.
would do that. Because we did it, Jenny might remember, Oak Drive. we had a severe flooding problem with the Lindler, and I went in each of the homes, and all but about 2 of those homes had sump pumps tied into the sanitary, and we cut the flows down from 50,000 gallons to 10,000 gallons.
No, what I'm saying is if you hired a company to put your sump pump in,
Yeah.
like Be Dry, places like
Yeah.
that, do they know to not do that?
They should.
Nowadays.
I'll reserve that answer,
Okay.
because I don't know, because I know it was just done, and if you want them to take that sump pump out of the sanitary, where are you going to put it? And right now, we don't have, we need storm laterals when we put in our storm sewers to come into the yard, so you can tie your downspouts, you can tie your sump pumps into that. And then it'll get away. We've done this other places, and it makes a huge difference in an area when you get the sump pumps out of it. Like I said, we went from 50,000 gallons during a rainfall event to 10,000 on Oak Drive when we went through there. And all we did there, because there are bigger lots, the only requirement we had was get it outside on the grass. And that's what we did. We didn't have, you almost need a special lateral or something, or design it into your storm sewer systems. Yeah, it just keeps going. That's more than you would care to know.
That's why you have to live forever.
Yeah, you're testing me now.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Laura, coming from Cleveland. Thanks, Bruce. We appreciate you being there all the way to Cincinnati. And Ben and Roger, thank you.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Likewise, thank you.
The backing up to the changing and diverting to the Scioto, where are you thinking about pulling out of the northern watershed and making that transition to start?
Letters. And Letters plate, there's a manhole right there. And we would pick the storm sewer. Everything
On
draining
Highland.
into that
On
point
Highland.
is in the Scioto watershed.
You're talking on Highland?
Yeah, at Highland there. Fair, yeah.
Baylor,
Failer.
yes.
Do you anticipate having to run another stormwater line down South Sandusky and then going into Scioto?
We can't, the storm sewer we already checked that out. The storm sewer that outlets down by your facilities on the Scioto comes up through there, and it is higher elevation-wise than what we really wanted when we were going to try to get all that area north of GE and take that and divert that south. And it would have been here, and your other sewer is just barely underground for yours. That was put in I don't know, just in early days, or was it sooner? I don't remember.
When are you thinking about making this transition on Highland?
We don't know yet. We're trying to budget and get it all programmed.
That's part of our negotiation with the EPA.
Yes.
So we're in that process right now.
It's a solution, it's an idea that could present a solution and help. And this lady over here, that's her bailiwick.
Is it gonna get us some points, though?
Well, that's, yeah.
That's what-
Yeah. Well, we need points, isn't it?
That's a good point you just made. As everybody talked about trying to please the EPA, what are we doing to take care of the residents' issues? And that's the balancing act
Well,
of
that's-
trying to do both.
And Laura can tell you, since we started meeting earlier in the year, you know, our tack has changed some too, and primarily because of these 2 storms that we've had. So we're trying to focus, you know, like Jeff said, balancing that, so. And it's gonna be up to, you know, what we can negotiate. Bruce, did you have something?
Yeah, part of the negotiation process with Laura, will the river tie into any of these negotiations?
Yes.
Yeah, because
On cleaning the river and getting rid of some of the debris and the sandbars and.
Bruce, part of my budget, I'm gonna ask for money each year, like Lynn did this year, on cleaning the Mansfield Street Bridge. I'm gonna ask for money each year in the budget to help to do a small portion of it every year.
we've done similar to the Scioto River watershed in Marion County, and it has over the years reduced the flood elevations even in LaRue. They sent the guys back down to re-inspect their gauges because they were off because they weren't recording high enough. Well, they're recording properly, it's just they've lowered the flood elevations in there by cleaning the rivers. And by cleaning the rivers, first of all, I can't really dredge the bottom because then we get into the Clean Water Act and stuff there. But we can clear the dead trees and stuff along, and the trees that are dead and leaning over the banks and would fall in. That's what we're trying to take. And the bridge was our first shot, and now we would really like to get into a program, and as Jeff said, is to do a section every year, and it may take a few, but every year that we do it, it makes it better.
How much debris is in the river since the railroad got done with their project? They brought in tons and tons and tons of stone, and they put those little tile in there, and then we had that big flood, that big rainstorm, and it took that stone all the way to the second bridge, that what we always.
Well, nobody took it out.
And that stone is down there yet.
So it's there, and we've got to make sure it's off to the sides. And I'd like to do something about the alignment through the it's a railroad bridge there in Norfolk and Southern, because that comes in and it's creating a vortex in there because it's cutting in and turning.
CS05 area.
Yeah, yeah. So we would like, that is part of an ongoing program we want to continue. It's not throw $1 million at it this year, can we have 25,000 each year, you know, type of a deal, and can we keep going in with a contractor, and just like we did with the bridge out in West Mansfield, because that increased at about 35–40% the opening through there. Now, it might have sent the water a little faster to All Miller Park, but we got it away from the people in their houses, and that's what I was looking at.
So where does the program come into? I know City of Galleon, they had done something around the Taylor ice cream people. They're on 598.
Yeah, I did that.
They did the clear cut.
Yeah.
We're not gonna clear cut then? I mean,
No.
We're not allowed to clear cut.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Enough said about that.
Yeah. And we actually had to get a special permit just upstream from Taylor's in that location at their swimming pool because it was washing out the embankment on their swimming pool. And we had to do rock protection, and it got quite involved with the EPA there for a while. They were pretty proud of their job, that's what I'll say. But we got it in.
We good? I'm sure you'll have more questions, so we'll make sure you have contact information, so, and you can always email us too, if you think of any other questions. But we'll, just, when we hear from the EPA, we'll have to schedule everything, go over that with you. When Laura and Brian were here, kind of giving some of the preliminaries on that. We have not heard back from the EPA since end of June, so it's been over 2 months. So just crickets right now. So as soon as we do, we'll get back with everybody.
So at that time, then you'll bring dollar numbers back to us,
Yes.
the monthly fees and that kind of
Just like
stuff?
we did last time, if you remember,
Okay.
what we're gonna have to spend and what it's gonna cost. All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you guys from in Cincinnati and places beyond. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, Bruce.
Thank you.